Basically, every startup is using AI. If you look at the recent Y Combinator, intake is all AI. Anyone who wasn't an AI company quickly slapped AI into it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kyle, and we're going to be running through the latest AI news and updates of the week. This is the week of Google. Google have absolutely knocked it out of the park over the last few days. There have been quite a few releases from other providers. We've had GPT 5.1 Codex Max. We've had Grok 4.1, and we have rumblings of Opus 4.5 from Anthropic, either coming today or early next week. One of the busiest weeks in artificial intelligence ever. But Google have dominated. Google have absolutely taken this week and potentially the AI race. I am very bullish on Google all of a sudden. Previously, if you've seen me on other videos, I've been saying I think Google might be in trouble, because they need to turn a massive ship around. They need to replace all of the advertising revenue. That's still a huge issue, but I'm going to talk about why they're in a really good position to do that. So I'm going to dedicate most of this hour or half hour or however long it takes to Google. So I'm going to say the already silly word Google so many times, and I hope that's okay with you. Hopefully I won't have to say Google much next week. So Google have just been knocking it out of the park over the whole week. The most recent update though, and one that I haven't covered yet, is Nano Banana Pro, which is Gemini 3 Pro Image. Still not very good at names. So Nano Banana came out a couple of months ago and it blew everyone's socks off, and it actually led to Gemini for the first time becoming the #1 downloaded application in the iOS App Store. It's the first time that anyone out in the public kind of heard of Google's AI, primarily because of Nano Banana. So they have updated Nano Banana and it's even better. The great thing you can do now is text. They have nailed the ability to create text inside of images. Previously, you would see an image and it would have some garbled text in it. That is no longer the case, and people have been doing incredibly impressive things like mocking up whole screenshots of computers, having photos of people holding a telephone, and on that telephone is an article that you've given Nano Banana to put on that telephone, etc., etc. I've been doing my own ones. For the newsletter that came out this morning, I did a whole comic that I put into the newsletter as well, which basically summarizes all of the different stories. We have one about Google Gemini not needing NVIDIA's GPUs, one about NVIDIA making money while companies like OpenAI throw away the cash, but that's fine because NVIDIA is making cash. We have things about the autonomous coding. We have Collins Dictionary Word of the Year being vibe coding, etc. And it managed to nail all of the text. I basically gave it my newsletter text. You can see my newsletter down below here. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not, because this is where you get the updates. And just gave it to it, did not give any additional instructions, said make a comic, and it, boom, just one-shotted it. Really cool. This is something that's always held back the image generators for me. I'm not that interested in AI art, like creating images for the sake of images, creating videos for the sake of it. It's just not something that really interests me. But being able to create graphics, infographics, educational graphics, cartoons, explainers like this with text that is actually legible, really cool. Your feed is probably Nano Banana Pro generated images right now. I highly recommend you go and check it out. So it's a little bit tricky to get, or people have been trying to work out how to get hold of it. It should now be in your normal Gemini. So if you go into gemini.google.com, even on the free plan, so I've tested it here, this is on the free plan, you're just not going to have much capacity and it will fail. But you can see even here, it's managed to do images and it's done pretty well. And then on the paid plan, which is my one over here, you just get more capacity. So I actually used it just to generate an image here to explain the kind of Google ecosystem, the Google AI ecosystem, which I'm going to be using later in this particular live. I'm going to be using this in one of my videos. I basically wanted to show the whole vertical stack that Google now control, which includes things like Google Cloud, data centers, TPUs, which is very important and people are missing out on it, and then all of the other layers on top of that. So Android, Chrome, etc. at the top, the application layer. Interestingly, I've got Gemini here. Yeah, it's pretty good. I didn't give it very many details, so it's not bad. And as you can see, it nails the text. If I wanted it to be even more accurate, I would provide it with the text. I'd provide it with the instructions, and then it would be able to do that as well. You can get it through gemini.google.com on the phone app as well. And finally, you can get it through AI Studio. So Google or aistudio.google.com. This is where you create software using the Google models. So this, what you can see right now, is the playground. It's a temporary chat. You can just mess around with it basically. However, You can also get an API key at the bottom left, which allows you to connect to your own software. My cursor is in the background building something for me, building the ability to take my newsletters and automatically convert them into cartoons. So it will just grab all the text from the newsletter, send it off to Nano Banana Pro, generate a couple of cartoons for me, bring them back, and then I can choose which one I want to use. I can also cut them into social media content, etc. So I'm building that as we speak, and that should be ready soon. Fair warning, to use Nano Banana Pro in Google AI Studio, you do now need a paid account. It's pay as you go, so you pay for each generation basically, but you do need to add a credit card just to even get that API key. So you can see here in temporary chat, it says link API key. Nano Banana Pro is only available for paid tier users, so you need to at least connect billing. It's not cheap, but it is very good. This is Philip Schmidt, who works for DeepMind. It's now available and it thinks through the prompt, so it can retrieve real-time data such as weather forecasts, stock charts using Google search grounding, and then it generates. This is the really cool part about it. So this image that I generated here, I basically said I want to visually demonstrate the AI stack that Google control from the kind of infrastructure level, the physical hardware, up to the application layer. I did not say, oh, I want you to add in Google search. I did not say, make sure you include JAX and TensorFlow. It worked that out itself. And the way it's done that is by researching first. So Google Gemini Pro will go off and do the research, and then it will feed that into your image. Really cool. And then what that does mean is it does cost quite a lot of money. So this image, when I generate it via, this is free, not free, it's on my paid Gemini account, but if I was to generate it via the API, this would cost me about 13 cents. So 13 cents, not cheap, especially if you want to generate hundreds of images. Suddenly you're going to be starting to stack up, but compared to hiring somebody, it's extremely cheap. A 2K image will be 13.4 cents per image, American cents, or if you want a 4K image, it's going to be 24 cents, so a quarter of the dollar per image. 10 different aspect ratios, integrated Google search, allows 14 reference input images. That's cool, I didn't know that. Highly accurate with clear text rendering, so it is extremely good. I'm excited, the internet is excited, and I think there's good reason. Google are absolutely cooking this week, and I'm going to talk about more Google stuff, but let me hop over to some questions. Had to refund Gemini, it was not good, kept answering questions from 2 to 3 prompts ago instead of my latest prompt. Was that on Gemini 3? Because I know Gemini 2.5 used to do that a lot. It's a shame to hear that's a problem in Gemini 3 too. This is why I don't generally use Gemini models for coding in particular. I'm still using Sonnet, I'm using Claude for coding because it gets a bit confused. I'm sorry to hear that you had to cancel. What business used modern AI to build a company or app that sold for a fortune recently? There's a lot of money being thrown around. I'm not sure which one specifically. If you know the industry, I might know of it, but there's quite a lot of businesses right now. Basically, every startup is using AI. If you look at the recent Y Combinator, intake is all AI. And anyone who wasn't an AI company quickly slapped AI into it, for better or worse. Just adding AI doesn't make you a good company, unfortunately. But it is now the go-to thing. That's Nano Banana, really cool. Make sure you go and try it out. It's impressive. So twice this week, Google have surprised me, which I was not expecting. I've been historically quite bearish on Google, but they have just absolutely knocked it out of the park. So the other thing that we got earlier this week was Gemini 3. Gemini 3 is SOTA, so state of the art. If you ever see this, SOTA, it's an acronym that's used in AI and tech in state of the art. So if you see that, don't worry about it. Gemini 3 models have made a significant 2 times state of the art jump on the ARC AGI 2 evaluation. There are 2 different models, Gemini 3 Pro and Gemini 3 Deep Think, which is the even more impressive version, which is only in preview. And they set it on a task which cost $77 to complete. It did extraordinarily well, more than twice as successful as any of the other models out there. So this is suggesting that we are continuing on a trajectory and scaling is not going to be a problem, at least for now, because these models were built not using special architectures. They're not hybridized with symbolic AI. They're not using world models. They're not using spatial intelligence. They are large language models, but they have additional pre-training and they have additional post-training. They just did more of the same, and it is still working. They are continuing to get better and better. Whether or not that's going to continue, we do not know. This is one of the big questions in artificial intelligence and in the financial markets right now, because if we do see a plateau, and we have Nvidia as the largest company in the world, predicated on continual growth and future profits, then the whole thing may come crashing down. But for now, it's continuing to go up. This is what we had earlier in the week, which was already incredibly impressive. Using Gemini 3 is also very good. Generally, when new models come out, it's very hard to pull people away from ChatGPT, pull people away from Claude. I haven't seen the numbers on adoption yet, but I think Gemini 3 actually has a decent chance at doing it. As of yesterday, with the release of Nano Banana, let's see if they have taken the top spot on the App Store again. Oh, they've got an ad right at the top, Google Gemini. Let's have a look. Oh no, the top free app right now is gov.uk one login, which I was trying to use the other day, and it's terrible. I had to verify my ID, and it was an absolute, I can't swear. Okay, so the second app after gov.uk is ChatGPT, and the third is Google Gemini. So Google Gemini have gone back up in the rankings, but they have not taken down ChatGPT this time. I wonder if, as people wake up and realize and hear about Nano Banana Pro, if that's going to change and we'll see ChatGPT go to the top and hopefully knock the terrible Gov UK app off. I needed to verify my ID for one of my businesses, and I went on the app and they're like, this is the only way you can do it now. This is a great way to do it. It's our new technology. And then I went on the app and it's, okay, the only ID we're accepting is your military, your army issued government ID. I'm not in the army. I'm not military. We can't verify you then. So yeah, Google, I think the big thing that people are missing though, and I've done a few videos on this, including a video that's actually going viral on Instagram, which is very unlike me. I'm very small on Instagram, but I've got a video there which is like 40,000, 50,000 now. The thing that people are missing is actually related to this image that I generated. What Google are doing is they're setting up the foundations to dominate the entirety of artificial intelligence. They have been steadily building in the background for the last couple of years, since the purchase of DeepMind, and even before that, building an ecosystem. So GPT, when it came out a couple of years ago, stole a march on Google. I don't think Google were expecting OpenAI to come out with ChatGPT and for it to be as popular and as groundbreaking as it was. So ChatGPT came out, and basically OpenAI have had free reign for the last couple of years, and ChatGPT became synonymous with artificial intelligence. Over the last couple of years, Google have been playing catch up. They got caught on the back foot, and now they are starting to show the results of the work for the last couple of years. Why I think they're in a really good position, and I'm incredibly bullish on them, is they own the whole vertical. A lot of OpenAI's work is Sam Altman going out and saying, hey, we need some more money, please. A lot of his job is getting cash in, and that requires hyping up AI, making sure that people think it's the most important technology on Earth, talking about artificial general intelligence and beyond artificial superintelligence, so that the money keeps flowing in. And Sam Altman is doing a very good job of it. This is his job. He has to hype it up. He has to bring the cash in. He's doing an extremely good job of it. He's managed to move for profit as well in the last couple of weeks, which allows more investors to come in because they'll be able to get their cash back out. Sam Altman, can't fault him. He's doing what he's meant to be doing very well, raising cash. They have to do this because they need to send that cash to Nvidia. They need to send that cash to companies like Oracle, cloud computing, data centers, GPU manufacturers. They need to buy that infrastructure layer at the bottom. So we have huge deals with Oracle, Microsoft, with Azure, etc., because they need that foundational level of compute at the bottom. So all of OpenAI's money just floods back out and it goes to Nvidia and companies like that. And that's why Nvidia is now the largest company on Earth, because this money is coming from investors through OpenAI, Anthropic, xAI, etc., straight to Nvidia. What Google have done is very different. Google released Gemini 3 without using Nvidia chips. Doesn't seem that important, but this is one of the most important pieces of news this year. It's quite subtle. They have been producing their own chipsets called TPUs, tensor processing units, which are specifically built for machine learning. They're now on their 7th generation of this chip. They've been building them for years. This is not a new thing. This is the first time they have trained a model exclusively on the TPUs that has then gone on to be state of the art. They trained their previous Gemini models on their own TPUs, but those models weren't good enough for people to pay much attention. This is the first time where they've used their own hardware that they have researched, that they have prototyped, that they have manufactured at scale, and then they have trained their own models at state of the art on the TPUs. They've also done it on their own cloud infrastructure and data centers. The layer below that is electricity. They are investing in nuclear power stations right now, with the first one coming online, I think, in 2029. They're buying up decommissioned nuclear power stations and looking at building new nuclear power stations as well. They are trying to own the whole vertical. So OpenAI own a small component of the vertical, and they need to buy from the suppliers. So that's the data centers, the cloud providers, that is the GPUs, like NVIDIA. They need to buy that in. So all of their money floods back out. They also don't have the distribution that something like Google has. So Google has Chrome. Chrome is used by, check out the Chrome market penetration. It's 80%, is it? It's massive. 70%. So 70% of the world uses Chrome. You can slot AI into that, and you suddenly have 70% of the world having access to your AI. They also run Android, which is a sizable proportion of the phones out there. I think it's the majority of the phones. They own Google Search and YouTube, the largest search engines on Earth. They have the distribution surfaces to get their AI out in front of everybody, basically. So Google are now sitting in this very cushy position where they own the vertical. They have the application layer, they have the distribution, they have the hardware and the infrastructure layer. They have a good model at last. They have data, they have all of our search history, they have Google Maps, they have all of their APIs, etc. They have YouTube. If you're looking for a source of video training data, YouTube's pretty good. They own all of this, and now we're starting to see them actually push into the market and push back on. OpenAI own a tiny part of this vertical and are now going to be squeezed from all the different sizes by Google. Google also have cash. They have a lot of money and they have profitable. OpenAI is not. So Google has the luxury of making decisions based off the back of that profitability. So I am now incredibly bullish on Google because of this massive vertical integration. Up until now, they haven't really had a model that was good enough. Now they do. They are fully in the game, and I think it's now theirs to lose. So if I was at OpenAI right now, I'd be pretty scared of Gemini 3. I think it shows, because it was built on their own processors, TPUs, it shows a different way to do artificial intelligence to what all the other companies are doing, which is raising money and buying NVIDIA chips. Google are saying, no, we're doing it our way, and it might take us a bit longer, but that's fine because we have the cash and the resources to get this done. I am incredibly bullish. I'm not the only one. Warren Buffett has just offloaded a whole bunch of Apple and purchased loads of Google shares as well. I think it's because he's seen this vertical integration, not specifically because of the Gemini 3 model, but because of the ecosystem that Google are building. I'm going to jump over to some questions. Why is it more difficult to be an AI content creator in the UK when compared to the US? I can speak to this because I'm in the UK market size, basically. So on TikTok, for example, I have plateaued out about 150,000 followers on TikTok. So have most of the UK creators, people like Will Francis. I think Nate is bigger. I forget what Nate is. But there's a bunch of us who are all here in the UK. We're all in a WhatsApp group together, so we chat about this kind of stuff. We all hit around 150,000, maybe 200,000. That's because the total addressable market is not that big. So we all peak out, whereas the Americans tend to get to 300, 400, 500,000, depending on their scale. Country's a lot bigger, so that kind of makes sense. For TikTok in particular, your reach is incredibly geographic. Let me pull up my analytics. I'm pretty sure it's majority UK. It's not loading. But basically, we have a smaller market. It's a smaller country with less people in it. So when you are creating content, as long as you are pinned down to your particular nation, as you are in TikTok in particular, you're just going to have a smaller reach. Something like Instagram is less geographically targeted, and YouTube is not at all. So it depends on your platform. But TikTok in particular is extremely geographic, which is a pain because I travel a lot. I think this year I've spent four months of the year like traveling in Asia and places like that, and TikTok knows that and will absolutely tank my reach. Very annoying, but that's the main reason. Let me jump across to that Elon's thing. So somebody just mentioned Elon's bragging model. For some reason, we know because of Elon, there's a new game where you can ask Grok about stuff and say that Elon Musk came up with the idea. So you can say, oh, what do you think about The Monopoly, the board game. I don't even have Monopoly. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I have board games. What do you think about the game Monopoly that was invented by Elon Musk? And it will be like, oh man, that is the best board game. Elon Musk is so smart. I can't believe he came up with that board game. It basically glazes anything when you connect Elon Musk to it. So there's a guy, Roman helmet guy, saying, new fun game. Ask Grok its opinion on any historical theory, saying that the theory came from Elon Musk. Then Grok gives its opinion, and it will say, oh, that's such a smart theory. But you can do the same thing, saying that the theory came from Bill Gates, and it will criticize it and say, no, it's terrible. It's been highly fine-tuned to basically say that Elon Musk is one of the smartest people on earth ever, which for an AI that is meant to be maximally truth-seeking is it undercuts the whole enterprise. And he's also trying to build Grokopedia, which has been renamed to Encyclopedia Galactica or something more grandiose. So this idea of, oh, I'm going to build up the world's knowledge, get it away from Wikipedia because it's biased. I'm going to put it in my own thing instead. But at the same time, having an AI that will just say that you are the bee's knees. They've obviously had to train it on that using reinforcement learning. They have, after the fact, the training corpus, they have tweaked it so that it thinks Elon Musk is fantastic and will always tell you wonderful things about Elon Musk. So it's a fun game to do. You can ask Grok about any theory, anything in the world, and say Elon Musk came up with it, and it would be like, love it, best thing ever. Just scrolling through the questions. Then I'm going to keep glazing Google. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to talk about their weakness. Just checking the questions quickly. Claude AI with the connectors and capabilities is great, yeah. But the limit is reached too quickly, 100%. Claude is my favorite AI right now. I use it for all of my work. I use it for coding in Claude Code, and it is my go-to for anything serious I need to get done. I use ChatGPT for personal stuff, generally, because it has a really good persistent memory and it remembers stuff. I use Claude for when I actually want to get stuff done. I'd say the only downside of Claude is its capacity. And this is what, if you go on the subreddit, if you go on Twitter, that is the main thing that people complain about. It's the best model, but the usage limits mean that it is unusable. So they have daily usage limits, which reset every few hours. And they've introduced weekly usage limits as well. You might use it for a couple of hours one day, and that's it for the week, which means you have to wait a whole week before you can use that particular model, which makes it very hard to ingrain into your daily workflows. Imagine you're putting together a report or doing research using Claude, 70% of the way there, and then that's it for the week. That means you cannot get that work done, and you end up having to try to condense it, which you can't do because you've run out of limits. So you need to start copy-pasting your chat out, taking it over to ChatGPT, condensing it. It's a nightmare for user experience. That puts a lot of people off, and for good reason. Every time they slam you with that limit, they're basically saying, hey, if you don't want these limits, we have a $200 a month plan, so we could make these limits go away. So I have that plan. Full disclosure, it was given to me for free, so I don't run into those problems. For me, it's phenomenal. I haven't hit the limits for months. For anyone else paying $20 a month, it's insulting that you're paying $20 and it still slams you with, hey, cool, great work we're doing here, I'll see you next week. That's infuriating. I say this with a lot of love for Anthropic, a lot of love for Claude. It's my favorite model, but that is not great. So we're about to get, supposedly, Claude Opus 4.5. So it just dropped inside of their API. Somebody noticed it yesterday. We're about to get the new upgraded version of Opus. Some people are speculating that the recent weekly limits that they put in is because we're about to hit that transition, so they needed to release resources to get Opus deployed and ready for Opus. Maybe. I have the feeling that when we get the new Opus 4.5, we're going to have those similar limits. If, in fact, they might even be stricter, because it's going to be an even stronger and even better model. I do love it, but it's a huge problem with Anthropic. It is the best, but it's incredibly limited, which means ChatGPT and Gemini are now more practical for a lot of users, unless you give Anthropic $200 a month, but that is a lot of money. I'm on ChatGPT Plus. Am I better off closing my account and using Gemini 3? This is terrible for me because I can't say my thurs. Am I better off closing my account and using Gemini 3? I would say go and try Gemini 3 yourself and see if it works for you. With all of these models, we get benchmarks, we get online experts and gurus talking about, oh, this ChatGPT is dead, make sure you subscribe to Gemini 3, etc. You get all of this hype, but ultimately what matters is whether the model works for you, and that's going to be subjective. Lots of people will go onto Gemini and think, no, this sucks. I don't like the tonality. It keeps giving me the wrong answer. I need to fight with it too much. Like the way that you prompt it's going to be slightly different. The type of results you get will be slightly different. It will also not have the persistent memory that you have built up in ChatGPT. So it might require additional prompting or additional context. You just have to try these things ultimately. I say don't bother trying every new model because there's too many. There's one every single week and it's too much. Just stick to one that works for you. With Gemini 3, I think it is important enough and good enough to actually bother testing it out. Go and try out the free version, see if it works for you. If it's really good, sure, move on to it. You can cancel your ChatGPT if you want. That said, we'll probably see an updated version from ChatGPT in the next few weeks as well. We had one yesterday. We had Codex 5.1 Max came out yesterday or 2 days ago. So they are still shipping. I think what they'll probably do is 12 days of OpenAI, which is what they did last year, however many days of Hanukkah. Sorry. So we'll probably have something similar. As such, if ChatGPT works for you already, stick with it, unless there's a really strong reason to move away from it. Otherwise, you end up just bouncing back and forth between the models because there's a new best model every month. And the marginal improvement you get by changing models is probably not worth it. But that said, it's up to you entirely. That's it for the week. Definite nightmare. The weekly limits are much more insulting than the daily limits because the daily limits, at least you're like, okay, fine, put down the laptop, I'll go outside and I can come back tomorrow. When it's, oh, I'll see you next week. Come on. Pretty cheap, lots of requests. Also got Claude. You got the free $250 Claude code. They've actually extended that. The free credits for Claude code on the web were meant to run out on the 18th of November. That's been extended to the 22nd. Oh, that's only tomorrow. Okay. I still have $958 of credit. So if anyone knows how I can spend $950 in the next 3 days on Claude code web, do say. Whoops-a-daisy. Oh, you've only got 57 left. You've done much better than me. I was not able to spend it fast enough. Kimi AI is cheap and good as well. You have to speak Chinese though. There's a Volcano engine, which is the new, it's from ByteDance. It's an agent basically. It is 10 kwai, which is £1 for the first month. And that gives you access to Claude Code, Claude Pro. I don't quite know what they mean by Claude Pro. I guess 4.5 Sonnet. That's only £1 for a month, and then it goes to £4 a month. So that's very cheap. You do need to make your way through the Chinese setup menu, but once you're using the model, it's not in Chinese. So you could adjust this. And this has, or Claude Max 5X for only £5. Very cheap, extremely cheap. So that's another way to get it. Also, right now there is Anti-Gravity. Anti-Gravity just released from Google. So that's available on everything. This is like Cursor, but right now the individual plan is $0 a month because it released a few days ago and they want to test it out. They want to get it into people's hands. It's really good. I've been playing around with it. So right now it's free. We like that. And that gives you access to Gemini 3 Pro, Google, Claude Sonnet 4.5, which is arguably the best coding model, and GPT OSS, the open source ChatGPT, which is fine, whatever, who cares? But you get access to Claude Sonnet 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro on a free account. So if you do have a project you want to do, check that out. I haven't used it extensively, but I've heard those limits are quite tight. So I've seen some people reporting they put in a couple of prompts and then the system's, that's it for the day. Your mileage may vary. Or use this Chinese one if you can read Chinese. It requires signing up to a Chinese coding agent, but very cheap. This is ByteDance, by the way, the company who makes TikTok. This is not just some random ass website I'm showing you. It is ByteDance. Volcano engine, yeah. It's called Volcano engine. The website is VOLC engine. I don't know if there's a way to translate the page into English though. There's a lot of people in the West are like, oh, the Chinese are competing with us. No, the Chinese are building their own domestic ecosystem and they don't care what the people in the West are doing. This website is probably the best proof of this. Should we make an English version? No. Why? They have a large enough domestic market that they don't need to, and they will do plenty fine. They don't want Westerners coming in here and using it. I find hilarious. Cool. The last thing I wanted to touch upon, I've been glazing Google for last 40 minutes or so, and I think Google are doing so well. The reasons are they own the whole stack. They make their own TPUs. They train Gemini 3 on their own TPUs. That puts them in a unique position where they're not reliant on other companies. They're not reliant on Oracle or Nvidia or any of these other companies. They can just get on with doing their own thing. They also make money, which is a weird thing to say. Lots of companies nowadays don't make money, and that's absolutely fine. But last year, this 2024, their revenues were 350 billion. So they're making money and have been for quite some time. They're in a good position to dominate the race. This chart is telling because look where their money comes from. It comes from Google search and other ads. And YouTube ads is at 10% as well. Actually, it's all ads. 60% of it comes from Google search ads, mainly from AdWords. Then they have Google Network, which is, I think that's like the display ads. I might be wrong here. I've never used them. And then YouTube ads. So the top three items here, which is 60%, 70%, 80%. So let's say 80% of their revenue comes from advertising. The rest, 12% comes from cloud, 12% comes from subscriptions, and other bets, 5%. Things like Gmail don't make money. It's just part of the ecosystem. So the things we use daily, like Android, Gmail, they are not what drive the money for Google. What drives the money is advertising, 80% of their revenue. Google are an advertising company. Like it or not, they're not really a tech company. They use tech, but they are an advertising company. They bring attention, the world's attention, via Google search, via YouTube, and then they sell our attention to advertisers. That's how they make money. They're not a tech company. They are an advertising company, and 80% of their money comes from there. It's also high margin as well. So that's where they make their profits. Generative AI is a threat to search. Search is how they have made their money for the last couple of decades. Google has become synonymous with search. That's why we say Google it. We don't say go on a search engine and check the index results. We say Google it. Google has become the word for search that we use. Search as a whole is in trouble because we are no longer needing to go to Google, search through all their different search listings in order to find a website. In fact, Google have basically acknowledged that by giving us an AI overview right at the top. When you have an AI overview, that information is pulled from the website, so we don't actually have to click on the website anymore. That's bad if you run that website, if you make a living from running banner ads on your website or collecting emails or selling affiliate products or your own products on that website. We are now in the world of the zero-click internet where you don't have to click through to the website. When you Google something, it used to have many results on the page. Now we have 9 results on the page. Previously, you could scroll down, there'd be even more. They have restricted that, so it's only 10 to stop other AI companies from scraping through their data. Google has indexed the whole internet, and that is a huge data source for them. They don't want other AI companies coming along and basically pulling that information. They've made it slightly harder by adding pagination. So Google know that search is in trouble. Search is no longer necessarily the paradigm by which we access information because we can now use generative AI that has tooling that can search. We don't have to come to Google anymore. That's a problem because Google make 60% of their money from Google searches. That is now at risk. Google Network, the other ad formats, that's another 10% at risk. So 70% of their revenue potentially is going to dry up. The Google Network requires me to go onto a website and see a display ad, for example. If I'm not going to websites anymore, that's going to die. So Google are an absolutely huge behemoth of a company printing money, but the money that they're printing is based on the old paradigm of searching for information, going through websites and clicking on them. What's new is generative AI and the fact that we don't need to do that anymore. So Google are stuck in a really nasty position. Yes, they are leading the charge now with artificial intelligence. We've looked at their ecosystem. It's amazing. They have cloud, they have TPUs, they have the application layer, they have distribution, they have everything. So they are leading the charge there, but they need to cannibalize their own revenues using their new AI parts of the business. And nobody is yet making this kind of money with artificial intelligence. Nobody is making the kind of cash that Google have been making hand over fist for the last decade or so. There are no monetization options in place for AI companies that are creating $350 billion of revenue. Subscriptions just don't make that much. Yeah, sure, you can sell API and stuff like that. But remember, Google at the moment only make about 10% of their cash from subscriptions. And this would be things like APIs, subscriptions directly to Gemini, etc. It's a very small percent. They need to turn this whole ship around and replace 70, 80% of their revenue with something new. They are actively trying to do that by pushing into AI, but it's still a massive risk because nobody has worked out what that model is. I think we all know what that model is, but nobody wants to say it out loud. It's adding adverts into our AI results. Replacing Google search and Google Network revenue with advertising revenue from embedded AI results. So when I go and search for a new toaster, Sure, it will give me information, but it's also going to give me a sponsored listing. That is where this has to go. But right now, we're basically waiting for one of the companies to blink. I don't think anyone wants to be the first to say, hey, we're adding AI into this. Nobody wants to do that. They tried with Bard early on before it was Gemini, and people hated it. People did not want sponsored listings in their AI, and for good reason. But it is inevitable. It is the only way that Google can survive, because they need to replace this huge amount of cash coming from advertising. And it's also the way that something like ChatGPT can reach revenue, can reach any kind of revenue and profitability in the future. Noticeably, this is what all the social media companies do. A lot of the tech companies are basically advertisers. They gather attention, they sell that attention. That is the business model of Meta, the business model of Google. That's what they do. They have a really cool ecosystem in place. They might win the AI race, but they might be playing the wrong game, because they're going to have to demolish their own revenues. They're going to have to kill their cash cow and cannibalize those revenues and replace them with a new source coming from artificial intelligence, which nobody's done at this scale yet. So it's very risky still. So I wanted to finish up the live with that warning. There is still that very large problem, this existential problem that we're moving from search as the primary way of gathering information to generative AI as a new way of accessing the world's information. And Google need to make that switch. If anyone can, they can though. They're smart people. Google want their AI search to be the next thing. When you search something, display ads appear within. Yeah, 100%. They will have to show adverts inside of their AI results. That is the only way that they're going to manage it. Personalized ad based on current AI search, 100%. It gives them a layer of personalization that they dream of. So they build up profiles of us via our search history and what kind of websites we follow and use cookies, etc., to follow us around the internet. But having access to our ChatGPT memories and then OpenAI start to show adverts, the level of detail they have is astounding. There's so much money that can be made there that there's no way they're going to be able to ignore the cash they could get from that. I think it is a matter of who blinks first. Is it going to be Google or is it going to be OpenAI? Because as soon as one company does it and takes all of the public backlash and kind of rides the storm through, then the other companies can jump on without it necessarily hurting them as much. But they just don't want to be the first. Right, so that's been a whole 50 minutes about Google. But honestly, Google have been absolutely cooking this weekend, as the young people like to say. And I've been very impressed. I'm glad, because I'm going to a Google event next week, actually taking me to see one of my favorite bands, which is cool. It's nice to go and talk to their team and be like, wow, you guys actually have been releasing some really good stuff. Because the last time I saw them, that was not the case. I'm very direct. I won't say, oh yeah, your model's great, or I think you're doing a great job, when they weren't. This time they are really doing well. I actually messaged one of them the other day, hey, you guys are, damn, I'm really impressed. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, make sure you are. There will now be these comics like in Nano Banana. I'm not sure if I'll put them in the newsletter yet, and I need to work out the style, but I think these are cool. This is what the newsletter looks like if nobody's seen it, by the way. It's a summary of what I cover on the live, but a bit more condensed. And then I add in additional resources like the ability to read the original tweets, short videos if they're required, photos, guides, etc. all go in here, as well as your questions. For anyone who asks a question, I will tend to add a shorter version of the answer here. This newsletter is free, and you can find it on news, or go to aiwithkyle.com and then follow it to newsletter at the top and subscribe for free. This is also going on YouTube. Oh, it's speeding up towards 10,000 subscribers. That is the idea. I was aiming to get there before the end of the year, but I think it might happen in a week or two. 9,250 subscribers. So if you do want to subscribe, that'd be really useful. And you can find all of the full episodes edited, so it's less of me bumbling around. There are also time codes, so you can find the actual thing you're interested in. As well as that, there are shorter versions and clips. So there's a lot more on there if you want to learn about artificial intelligence. On the website, there are about 100 different guides that I've written over the last year. Big expansive guides. If you want to start a business using artificial intelligence, it's a good place to start. And some tools at the bottom, like the AI business quiz, which helps work out what kind of AI business you should be starting. There's always more stuff here because I love building stuff. In fact, I'm building something in Cursor in the background right now, and I'm going to check it after this live. So there's always new cool stuff going on, so make sure you check it out. I'm going to be logging off, and I will see you where I'm sure we'll be talking about Claude Opus 4.5. Thanks, guys.